When I was in design school, my teacher told me that there will always be a moment in your project when you really feel like you want to start working on the next project. I was happy to hear that I wasn't the only one experiencing a state of pessimism. What she didn't tell me is that this is one of the most important phases of a project. Whether you're working on your university project or you're working on your business, this is the phase where the heroes are separated from the victims. Read any folklore or myth and you will see the same thing happening over and over again. Whether it's Harry, Frodo, Neo or you. Let me go on a small tangent here. I will promise it makes sense in 1 minute. Last Christmas we were having dinner at my girlfriend and we were asking questions to each other. The question was, what makes you happy? And her father answered, when things first don't work out and then they do. This is an amazing answer because it's the essence of a good story. This is why you never see a movie where the prince goes to the tower with the princess, he walks upstairs, opens the door and takes her home. The end. Nietzsche, the funky mustache guy, wrote a book called The Birth of Tragedy. He went to theaters and realized that tragedy is born when chaos wins from order, when intoxication wins from clarity, and when entropy wins from structure. At the beginning of a project, it's often still fun because you don't see any limitations, you're still full of enthusiasm. You are in a state of uninformed optimism, at the peak of inflated expectations or at the peak of Mount Stupid. This is where Harry is on his way to Hogwarts, Frodo is having a party at the Shire, Neo hasn't taken the red pill yet, and this is where you start working on your project. You will feel limitless, boundless, chaotic, and you will think, this is going to be easy. This is going to make me a lot of money. People will love what I'm going to make. I can definitely make something awesome. It's impossible to stay in this state of uninformed optimism forever unless you hop over to a new project, but you will eventually get to exactly the same point again. The same problem will repeat itself in your life again and again and again until you face it. And the fateful hour is at hand when you either become trapped at this level of life or you choose to ascend to a higher plane of consciousness and joy. This is a passage from one of my favorite books. And this is where it gets interesting. You keep going and slowly your uninformed optimism turns into informed pessimism. You realize, shit, this is going to last way longer than I expected. I'm not sure if I can do this. Why am I doing this? I'm not sure if it's possible. This is natural, good and inevitable. Think about it for a second. You, as the hero of your story, have only two options at this point. You either go back to the Muggle world, you go back to the Shire, or you stay in the Matrix, or you don't work on your project. And the problem will soon rise again, so this is not even a real option. And if it doesn't rise again, you will for the rest of your life wonder what happened if you did take the action. It's better to have regrets of the things you did than the things you didn't do. Or you take on the adventure. So why is pessimism natural and good? It makes you more critical. It makes you reflect on what you did and who you are. It can open your mind to new options. I will talk more about Desperation in a bit. And it can be a good driver for change because emotions are necessary to change. And this phase is a seed for growth. Embrace the pessimism because it finally allows you to look at your work more clearly and realistic. So how do you go from informed pessimism to informed optimism? Accept how you feel, don't fight it. What you resist persists. Your feelings are here for a reason. Answer this question and be concise. What do I want? Answer this question and be really concise. What is the real challenge here? And answer, what can you do so that success is the only option? And after this, you can also create a motivation manifesto. You can read mine in the newsletter in the description. And just keep going. Understand that there will be many more moments in life where you're gonna have to deal with uncertainty, and that this is just going to be a skill that you're going to have to master. And at this point, your identity might be stuck in a negative spiral. So it's important to just find a small win, something small that you can show yourself that you did something, and that slowly change your identity back to something more positive. Desperation can be a great opportunity. When I was 21, I worked on a product design project and we had to design a camping toilet. I really did a terrible job, and my assessors told me that I had 2 weeks left to redo it, and otherwise I had to do half year all over again. This was actually one of the best periods of my study career because I got rid of all the noise and I could only focus. Later in life I realized why I would actually never get anything done. I would never get angry. Anger is actually an essential ingredient for moving forward. Aggression comes from the Latin word ad gradi, which means to move forward. It's the opposite of regression, to move backwards. And desperation, like any emotion, isn't binary. You can think of it on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 means that you really need something. This creates so much pain and stress that your mind becomes narrow. They've done an experiment on Indian farmers and it turned out that their mental functioning was much better after the harvest. Lacking money and time can lead to poorer decision making and attention skills. 2 would be you are hungry. You have focus, but you're also a little bit anxious. You focus on the signal, not on the noise. You build and you become pragmatic. You're in fight or flight mode. You are productive and sometimes you experience creative desperation, where you see the new in the old. It's called fujade, it's the opposite of déjà vu. This is not sustainable for months. And then in the middle, on 3, you have focus, you have flow. You want something, but you're not in pain. You are digesting and building at the same time. And then we have 4. You are creative. You don't need anything, you feel relaxed. You focus more on noise than on signal and you feel like you have the time to take a walk. You rest and digest what's in your body and what's in your mind. You're creative and sometimes productive. And then the 5th phase of desperation is where you don't need anything. You're like the people in the movie WALL-E, just being driven around, drinking milkshakes, or you're like Eckhart Tolle the moment after he got enlightened and he was just sitting at a park bench looking at ducks. And these experiences are very different, but they are both unproductive. Understand that feeling desperate is part of the creative process. And if you feel this, there is a breakthrough about to happen. As Marcus Aurelius said, some of the greatest inspiration is born from desperation. It's part of the process to feel on the peak of inflated expectations and then glide down into the valley of despair. And as Steve Jobs famously said, stay hungry, stay foolish. And if you are hungry, don't forget to eat your broccoli and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.